welcome back. We're here with Vince from VCtheMC. Vince, how are you?
Excellent, Easton. Glad to join you for this podcast, video cast.
Yes, I'm glad to be here. Excited to kind of see you in action today out there at Jeep Fest. So
that was fun. It was, the Jeep Fest is a great event, and the 4-miler and 1-miler that Dave's Running Shop puts on. You can see there was thousands of people out there, and it's just a blast. Beautiful way to end the Jeep Fest weekend.
Yes, so you started VCtheMC in 2018. What got you interested in actually starting this business?
Well, it's kind of funny. I've been in medical sales most of my life, and I got in my 50s. My kids were off and running on their own, and it's like I kind of figured out, what do I want to do when I grow up? And I wasn't smart enough to develop an app for an iPhone. I didn't want to own a Subway franchise, didn't want to go back to school, and I kind of reflected back on life and realized that anytime somebody gave me a microphone or a megaphone or an opportunity to just kind of speak, it was like, I like that. So I thought, what do you call that? And it's MC, public address announcer. And I looked back, I had done volleyball. My daughter played at St. Ursula Academy, and I was the public address announcer for Arrow state championship team, which I was very proud of as a dad, but that was fun to be a part of. Different organizations I've been involved with through the years, like the Arthritis Foundation. They had the Jingle Bell Run. I would announce for that and then do the awards and things and just other fundraisers. And I said, okay, well, this is what I enjoy doing. And is there a business here? And I thought, yeah, I'll become a Master of Ceremonies, a public address announcer. So went out, got a couple speakers, a microphone, business cards, put a website together and said, okay, I guess I got a business now, but how do you go out there and get it? So I've partnered with Dave's Running Shop, who, as I mentioned, puts on the race today, and that's kind of my main gig, do a lot of their races, but it's turned over and everything. So things I like to just do almost by accident turned into a business, and I tried to come up with a catchy name, and it was Vince Croci, the Master of Ceremonies, and VCtheMC, hence where the name came from.
Yes, and when you're guiding these events, how do you make sure they stay engaging?
Well, that's my goal with every event, is to work with the event organizer, who's putting on the show. What's their vision? What does good look like for them? What will be a big word for me is fulfillment. So what would be a fulfilling event from them as an organizer? What do they want their audience to walk away with? And I try to channel that, internalize that, and just be the voice of that event for what they need. They may have a script for certain things, but may want a little more added to it. Maybe it's some humor, I'll throw that in. Maybe it's some poignancy that, hey, let's touch on something. This is an important fundraiser for an event. So try to just internalize, what do they want from this event? And to keep people engaged by keeping the energy level going, keeping things on track. Time-wise, making observations of what's going on. Like at a race, there's people wearing t-shirts and have signs and doing things. 70 and 80-year-old runners, I like to call them out. So just things that keep people involved that may not be running or participating themselves, but in the atmosphere. So try to touch on all that. So that's my goal at every event.
And like as an MC and you're doing these events, how do you make sure that you are speaking clearly and properly the whole time?
Well, if you knew me socially or personally, most people would say I talk too much. So I have had a lot of practice talking through the years. And again, that's something where I just know it's like, hey, I've got to be as energetic at the last minute as I was the first. So it's just saying, all right, I've got to bring it. I feel like I'm a performer in a way. If there was some singer and they put on a 3-hour show, or some athlete and they got to go, that's where I put myself. This is what I'm getting hired to do, so I got to be at top level. And I've been working more on just keeping myself in shape. I'm getting a little older here, so to be on my feet for hours at a time, talking for hours at a time, I need to be ready to go. So just working on that. That's keeps me going there.
Yeah, and I like how you look at it as not only like a business, but it's like this is something that you do like professionally. Like, okay, this is something I need to go and I need to do like an athlete, like, like a pop star or like
Yeah.
things like that.
Well, it's funny, Easton, because in some respects, I'm doing something I would be happy doing, not getting paid for. Now, the wife didn't like that so much when I'm gone for 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday or Sunday morning doing a race. Like, what are you doing? It's like, well, I'm getting to talk to people on a microphone. I'm having fun. But there's a need for it. And to be a professional, anybody can pick up a microphone. Anybody can read some names and make some announcements. That's not that hard. That's where the professionalism to me is taking it to another level. Like, okay, I'm not saying anybody else can't do that, but nobody else can do it like VCtheMC. I'm going to bring it. I'm going to channel your event. I'm going to fulfill your vision. I'm going to keep the participants engaged, the supporters, the sponsors, the fans, whoever's around, whoever can hear out of these loudspeakers, I'm going to bring it for them. That's what differentiates me.
And like you mentioned in the beginning, your first, I guess, real gig was back in 2008 with the St. Ursula volleyball team. Throughout this journey from 2008 to now, what is the most important thing you've learned with being an MC?
That's a good question because it's been a learning process. Like I look at the volleyball. Here's what's funny. My daughter was playing. It's not a sport I was familiar with. I had to learn the game before I could make it even more entertaining. I didn't know what I was talking about and go. What I've learned though is that every event, it may be something different than other. Like this weekend, I did 3 extremely different things. I did a strongman competition, I did an 80-90s dance party, and I did this race this morning. They're all different in what they're doing, but what's the same is that they all have something they want to accomplish. They want to have their participants, fans, engaged. So again, just what I've learned is like, all right, the event may be different, but the needs are the same. So what I just have to figure out, what are the needs of this organizer? Yeah. What do they want out of this, and how can I bring it in that way? So, and I like that challenge of doing different things all the time. Like I never did a strongman competition before yesterday. You know, I didn't know what I was getting into, but they had confidence that, hey, we've heard you're a good MC, or you came recommended, and okay, you give me your information, and you get off to a slow start, and then it's like, okay, boom, we're into it, and it's like it was a blast.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of things you learn throughout the journey, people you meet, and you, like you said, you learn about a lot of different topics. And you kind of touched on this earlier, but what is one aspect that makes you different than your competition?
It is my curiosity in these different type of events. It's the investment I'm willing to put in. Like I said, I'm doing it to make an event better, to get some fulfillment myself, and the money is last. And as I've put more into it, things have worked out better there. I'm not like, hey, hire me, hey, this is how much I charge for a few hours, I'll be there, I'll get on the mic, you'll be fine. I've differentiated myself in that I know my lane. I'm not VJ the DJ. I work with DJs around town, and hey, you guys know music, you love it, you know when to turn the smoke and the lights on and go with the flow. I tried that a little bit, said no. I don't want to stand around 5 or 6 hours at a wedding playing music and just making a few announcements. What differentiates me is I'm your voice. I will invest in what you want accomplished. I will read up on before it. It's the pre-planning. If you want me to have a meeting, you want to get on the phone, Zoom, send me anything you want, email, text, whatever. The more you give me, the more I have to work with. So the difference is I invest in your event as much as I would something of my own, because I want you to feel good. I want everybody that was part of that event to feel good afterwards.
And I like how you really look at the small things. Like you look at the details. You take the time to actually sit down with the person and learn about the event, what they're doing, especially if you don't know about it. You're not just trying to go, like in there and wing it. And public speaking is a fear that many people have and they struggle with. What advice would you give to someone that wants to overcome that fear?
I guess public speaking has never been as much of an issue for me. It's, do I get anxious or nervous because I want to perform well? But I've gotten to the point where it really comes down to that deep breath. It's like, I'm just talking to other people. How many times have you been in an audience and listened to people? And you go up there, and instead of worrying about the 20, 200, 2,000, 20,000 and getting overwhelmed, if I were talking to one person, what would I share with them? What am I supposed to accomplish with that one person in that seat? And then it'll expand everybody else. So just really like, and especially public speaking when it comes to, if you're the expert of something, you're probably sitting in front of people that don't know what you do. They don't know when you make a mistake, and if you do, it's okay. I kind of live on the edge being an MC because here, I've got the script and what I got to say, but I like to come up with stuff. And sometimes it falls flat. Oh, wow. I guess that was funnier in my head than it was to these 2,000 people. It's okay. They're going to forget about it, go on to the next thing, and just realize that people are very forgiving. I mean, unless you haven't prepared at all. The only thing you should be fearful of as a public speaker, if you're not preparing at all. If you don't care, then you probably will fail, and you deserve to, and it won't be. But if you're saying, no, I know everything I can about this subject, I know what the audience is looking for, I'm going to share it like I'm sharing it with one person, and other people are going to hear it too, I'm good with it. If you've prepared, you're a public speaker.
Yes, I think that's a good advice. I think preparing and being, you can't prepare for the nerves, right? Like they're going to be there, they're going to come, it's going to happen, but pushing through that fear and being like, what can I do to make sure I have less of it? Like I prepare, I ask questions, I know what I'm talking about. And to go personal, you talked about that you worked in the healthcare industry. You actually worked for Pfizer for 24 years. Where do you think the healthcare industry in America can improve and get better?
Well, it's an industry, and I think that's part of the problem with it, is the word industry. It's gone from healthcare to the healthcare industry. And I know a lot of good people, doctors, the businesses. We can all point fingers at insurance companies, pharmaceutical, hospitals, all these things. But again, it comes down to they're all made of people. And there's some brilliant scientists that are looking at things of ways of doing it better. And it's imperfect, it's science. And there's businesses that are trying to make it more efficient, but sometimes they let greed or poor decisions get in the way, and it goes. And I think it's a matter of everybody just deep breath, let's take a step back. It's like, what is healthcare all about? Health and care. How do we provide that to people in a manner that does it? There's going to be some profit motive. There's incentive to come up with bigger and better ways. You look back in history where things were at. Pfizer was kind of founded on finding ways to mass produce antibiotics. It's like people can be critical of some of the things they do now, and that's fine. I'm not going to argue with everything there. But if you look back and say, oh, in the world wars, we saved a lot of lives because we were able to mass produce anti-infectives, that made a difference. So going back to why are things being looked at, what does care mean? How do we provide it in a efficient, effective, and cost-effective way?
And this is kind of like a personal question I have about like Pfizer and just the healthcare like industry in general. With you being in the industry for so long, where do you like? For me, I see like a problem where there's profit, and then there's always a problem where you need sick people.
Yep.
So like, as Pfizer, where do you think that line comes where they're putting out products that heal people, but the only way they receive clients is if people are sick?
Well, that's true, because something I used to say, if you want to put Pfizer out of business, everybody take care of yourself. We don't make people, I shouldn't say we, I'm not there working there anymore, but Pfizer or any pharmaceutical company, hospital, healthcare company, doesn't make people fat necessarily, which leads to cardiovascular issues, which leads to too much weight on their legs, which leads to pain, which leads to, well, I'm fat and I'm in pain, I'm depressed. It's all these things. Oh, if you go out and eat right, sleep right, exercise right, you'll probably vastly reduce the number of ailments that any medication is going to take care of. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know. Is there some underlying reason that like, well, let's get everybody as sick as possible. I don't believe that, at least, because the people I worked with at Pfizer and everybody who works in there, they're, again, other people. They have families. They don't want anybody sick. They don't want to use medications unless they absolutely have to. How can we avoid that? But if there are hereditary, genetic problems, we need to find solutions for that. And if there are things that people do put themselves in that situation, do we just say, well, you put yourself there, we're not going to worry about making a med for you. And if we are going to make one, well, it costs a phenomenal amount of money to do the research to come up with what works, which you see in a pharmacy, because there's tens of thousands of drugs that don't get that because they go through testing and they're not effective, they're not safe, and things like that. So it'll be like any industry. There, you can find fault with it. I can find fault with it. But my underlying belief is that keep moving forward. We're held to stringent scientific standards, double-blind, placebo, randomized controlled studies that people are looking at. That doesn't mean somebody might find something out later down the line. But if the goal is to, let's eradicate, alleviate, lessen, make better these disease states, and moving toward that, that's good. Is there some bad along with that? Yes, but maybe I'm the eternal optimist that eventually everything will cleanse itself, be it the healthcare industry, the auto industry, the education system, religion, whatever it is, the battle will eventually be pushed out.
And throughout your years being a father, what is one lesson you learned from your kids?
Probably to let go, because I was a typical parent, and probably still am at times, where their futures seem very clear to me because I have this experience. Like, oh, I would have done this differently. I would have done that differently. So guess what? I want my kids to do everything differently for me. And one of my best stories were I had my letting go moment. My oldest daughter, the one, she played volleyball. She was very fortunate and got a full ride scholarship to University of New Hampshire and played there. She was an excellent student as well. She was a business major. And during her tenure at University of New Hampshire, she goes, I kind of want to change majors this. Cassidy, just get this done, okay? And you can do what you want afterwards. And so she got her business degree. She was very well decorated, and I'm all pumped. Like, okay, you go out, go interview with a Fortune 500 company. You've got the grades. You were part of a winning team in a business competition, plus you were a D1 athlete. I can't wait to get you off the Verizon plan. Well, she comes back, it's like, well, I really want to do history and stuff. And it's like, okay. So she goes, well, I'd like to look into a master's. I go, okay. So she comes to me and says, oh, I found a place, University of Nottingham. It's like, Nottingham, I'm not familiar with that. She goes, well, Nottingham, England, Sherwood Forest. It's like, okay, well, all right. Yeah, well, you don't have any student loans, and I didn't have to help you out. So, go and follow your dream. And well, now here we are about, I lost track of time, 6 or 7 years later. She just got her PhD in Viking studies. So obviously not business. And I don't know how much money there's made there. I joke around and say, I hope the 6 people with jobs are close to retirement. But I had to let go of what I thought her life was supposed to be like. And by letting go, she's living the life she's supposed to have. She is with the people she's supposed to be with. She's doing what she's supposed to be doing in this world. And she didn't have to wait till she was 50 years old to do it. She's doing it now. I don't know what path she'll take. She may make some changes along the way, but I'm confident by me saying, okay, I have to have confidence. She's still held accountable for what she's got to achieve. She can just say, oh, I want to do anything, and sit on the couch and not doing it. It's like, no, but if you're moving forward, if I would say to any parent, if you see a child that has an interest in something, nurture that. It may change, but build with it and see where they'll go with it. Yeah. And support them. And, we had some tough talks at times. You have to, you realize you're giving up this for that. And as long as they know what their choices are, you're good.
For sure. Those kids are loud.
Speaking of children, we've got some visitors. They were so excited they want to be a part of this podcast.
I like the approach you take with the, just like letting go and letting your kids do what they want to a point. Because I think a lot of parents, they struggle with that. They go through and they want their kids to follow exactly what they want. if that's financial, if that's jobs, if that's even sports, to a point. And I think it's awesome that you kind of realize that through your kids. That's exciting.
And you can carry that over to other parts of life.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get so wound up with a job, with a hobby, with an activity. It's like, all right, why did I start doing something? What do I need out of this? And am I holding on to something too tightly? Am I getting mad at work because I don't like this person or that person? It's like, okay, I control my reactions. That person may or may not change, but I need to let go of something at work. Or, hey, I'm saying yes to too many things. I got to let go of that. So whatever it is, that's kind of a big thing I've learned later in life and through my kids.
And what is one thing that means a lot to you that no one else would understand?
I have my why from Simon Sinek, if you're familiar, it starts with why, is to facilitate the fulfillment of others' needs so that they will live better. And that sounds kind of wonky at times, but that's what that means to me, and I don't know if other people always pick up on it, is that, Easton, I may not be able to help you directly with something. You may have a need. And because of my skill set, my experience, my expertise, my knowledge, I may not be able to help you. But if I can facilitate that by connecting you with an individual, with an organization, with resources that can do that, I'm fulfilling my why. Take it to VCtheMC. If I can help make an event better by, I'm not putting up the timing mats and all the decorations and the website and getting people signed up and this, that, but if I can help bring all that together and facilitate the fulfillment of each participant, of their family and friends and fans that are on the sidelines, of the organizers of the event, of the sponsors that are putting a lot of money to help put toward it, to the Toledo Police Department and Fire Department and all the other organizations that may be keeping people safe out on the roads and everywhere. I'm facilitating that. So I don't know if everybody always sees that that's where I'm supposed to be doing, and I hope people pick up on that at times, but I don't always know.
And I feel like we share that same aspect because that's what I love to do. I have 2 more questions for you.
Yes.
If you could have dinner with 2 people, one person from the past and one person from the present, who would it be and why?
I've said from the past, Steve Jobs intrigues me because I read his biography. Seems like a very complex person, obviously great innovator, had a vision, brought things together, but then seemed disconnected in other ways. Like he wasn't the greatest person to work for. And he may have made some health decisions that he could still be with us if he didn't. I don't know all that, but I'm intrigued by people like him that are obviously so gifted and have leadership and intellect and are able to change the world in some respects, but some of the collateral damage along the way. What's going on in somebody like that's head? So that's somebody from the past. The present, that's a good one. I read so many books and listen to so many podcasts. I change my intrigue level with different things. I'll just say that Peter Attia's got my attention right now. Here's this doctor, he wrote Outlive. The guy's, unbelievably intelligent when it comes to medicine, and he's trying to talk about what he's trying to do is like, let's eliminate people getting diabetes and heart disease. These are there's 2 others, the 4 horsemen that kill people. We need to go to healthcare 3.0. We're at 2.0 right now. We know how to fix some of these things to go with it. Yes. And he also talked about he gets so focused on things about living longer and healthier, but somebody asked him once, it's like, well, why do you want to live longer? You seem miserable all the time, and stuff. And it's, again, another intriguing person that has so much here and there, and what his views on, like, okay, he gets very into the weeds with stuff. How do we get everybody to get more on the same page? Like, let's just be healthy, so you don't have to worry about being unhealthy and all the baggage that comes along with that. So I agree. Yeah, I'll throw that out there.
I like how you took the approach of like, maybe people that you might not fully agree with, but you want to learn more about, I guess, the negative side of like,
Well,
why do they do that?
Here's something, again, doing all this reading, all this listening, is we are all more complex. And sometimes the people that achieve the most are possibly more complex because they're so strong, they have so much energy, and they change things, but sometimes at a cost over here. And I think we all have that to a degree. I know I can be. It's like, oh, here I got these great qualities and people love this, that. Well, I can take up too much air in a room at times, and I can roll over it. And it's like, oh, what I think is exuberance is like, shut the hell up, Vince, type thing. So I know, so that's what intrigues me about other people. And how do we accept it? We're probably not going to see a perfect person. There's, people say there was one that was here, we didn't treat him so good. So let's take that one. So there's everybody else. And everybody else has the good and bad in them. And how do we live with each other knowing that? I've come up with a quote, I don't know if I'll ever make a t-shirt out of it or not. It's like, love everyone, hate no one, and like some. Wow, what do you mean by that? It's like, I don't think hate gets us anywhere. People can push us to the edge, but that still is another human. However far down the road they've gone, they were a baby once. Something happened along the line. So we've got to understand, how do we keep people from becoming that evil, if it's evil? And hate, maybe get rid of it, but it doesn't help us learn. And loving everybody doesn't mean loving the people that I want to hate, but no, I'll love them as human. But that doesn't mean I have to like them and accept everything they do. And I want to better understand who are those people that have accomplished a lot, have power, have been innovative, invented things, whatever they've done, but how do you balance out that bad side with, or how do we do that? So that's just what intrigues me, I guess, about all humans. That, I named a couple, but that, so.
I have one more question for you.
Yes.
Why did you decide to partner with us and offer the discounts?
Well, you intrigued me. Again, we talk about, I started getting into different spaces when, I start this little business, and it's like, okay, I've been in this road of healthcare, so I know a lot of doctors, I know a lot of people in healthcare, I know all about this and that, and it's like, oh, I'm going to start a little business here, and there's chambers of commerce, there's networking, you can go things, and I love to meet people, and I'm, again, very curious, and I want to know what people do, and you present, it's like, hey, Vince, I've got this thing, we're going to get this conglomeration of businesses, and we're going to try to help other people, we're going to help facilitate them being able to take advantage of businesses they need, and we're going to help business owners reach out to more people. So it's like, makes sense to me. So if there's some people out there that could benefit from a engaging, energetic, and entertaining voice at a business meeting, a nonprofit get-together, just a fun event, I would love to do that. And if they're part of your program, then I'll knock some off for them. Then.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. And that's what the questions I have. How can people find you, and what is one thing you want to leave people with?
Vince at VCtheMC.com is my email. VCtheMC.com. I've got testimonials there, examples of other events and things I've done. The thing I will leave them with is, I've kind of touched on earlier, it's you know what you want from your event. I will help you achieve that by being the voice of your event. So awesome. Let's talk.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Easton, thank you very much.